Welcome back to the deep dive. We got this really thought-provoking podcast episode from a listener.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, all about, well, the future of classical music.
Interesting.
And it really got us thinking,
Yeah.
how is this centuries-old art form going to be shaped, by technology, new composers,
Right.
and just how tastes are changing? So are we, on the verge of a whole new symphony?
Well, it's funny because we always think of classical music as like this fixed thing,
Right.
from the past.
Right.
But it's always been adapting. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
When the first gramophone recordings came out,
Yeah.
that wasn't just a new way to listen to music.
Right.
It actually, fundamentally changed how composers were writing music.
Wow.
Because they knew that people could experience it over and over again
Right.
with, perfect detail.
That's so true.
So now we're kind of seeing a similar shift.
Okay.
But this time, it's not just about capturing the sound.
Yeah.
It's about creating it.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And speaking of creation,
Yeah.
this podcast episode highlighted a bunch of new composers.
Oh, cool.
And they're anything but traditional.
Oh, really? Like who?
Well, like Max Richter.
Okay, yeah.
He's really well known for this blend of classical structure with minimalist repetition.
Okay.
It's almost like a Philip Glass film score,
Yeah, I get that.
And then you have someone like Eric Whitacre, who uses these big choral arrangements to create huge ambient sound worlds.
Oh, wow.
And they're not just writing for concert halls.
Oh, interesting.
They're composing for movies, video games, even art installations.
And, their reach is incredible these days, too.
I know.
Just imagine a few decades ago, a composer had to rely on, getting published or getting picked up by the major orchestra.
Right.
Now they can just build their own following online.
Totally.
Release their music directly to fans.
Yeah.
Someone like Anna Meredith.
Right.
She mixes electronica with orchestral sounds, and she can collaborate with artists across the globe.
Crazy.
Without even being in the same room.
I know. That's a game changer. It kind of makes you wonder, though, are traditional orchestras even going to be the main players in the future of classical music?
Well, yeah, that is the question a lot of people are asking.
Right.
The podcast talked about how some orchestras are trying to experiment with, virtual reality concerts.
Oh, wow.
The London Philharmonic Orchestra has an app.
Oh, cool.
And you can put on a headset and actually feel like you're right there in the middle of the performance. But it's not just about replicating the concert hall experience. It's about adding new layers.
Oh, okay.
Imagine being able to see the conductor's score come to life as the music plays.
Oh, wow.
Or choosing different camera angles to focus on specific instruments.
It's like being inside the music itself.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But even with all of these new technologies, some people say that the real heart of classical music is the live experience.
Right, yeah.
The energy that you feel in the concert hall, the connection between the musicians and the audience.
Yeah.
Can technology really replicate all of that?
Yeah, that's a good point. There is something special about being in a space with other people, experiencing the music together.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're also seeing a shift in how orchestras are presenting themselves.
Oh, okay.
Moving away from that stuffy, formal concert hall image.
Yeah, so those classical at the club events.
Exactly.
That are popping up everywhere.
Right. They're shortening the concerts, making them more accessible.
Right.
Sometimes they even incorporate visuals or have the musicians talk to the audience.
Oh, cool.
It's all about breaking down those barriers,
Right.
that make people feel intimidated by classical music.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about getting new audiences.
Okay.
It's about giving them a different kind of experience.
Exactly.
The podcast even mentioned how some orchestras are experimenting with interactive elements.
Oh, really?
Almost like video games.
Wow.
What if you could use an app to choose which piece the orchestra plays next?
Oh, wow.
Or even control the tempo in real time.
That sounds a little crazy.
I know, right?
But it's cool.
Yeah.
It really speaks to this desire to make classical music more engaging, more participatory.
Absolutely.
And then, there's the whole world of AI and composition.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine software that can analyze your musical tastes and then create a personalized symphony just for you.
Wow. That raises some interesting questions.
Yeah.
Are we going to have AI conductors leading orchestras?
Who knows?
Will human composers become obsolete?
It's really pushing us to redefine what it means to create and experience music, which kind of leads to a bigger question.
Okay.
As technology keeps evolving at this incredible pace, how do we ensure that classical music keeps its soul?
That's a great point. I was thinking about that too. Right. Like, all of this innovation is really exciting.
Yeah.
But it also brings up some ethical stuff,
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, if we start relying too much on AI,
right,
are we losing that human touch?
Yeah.
That emotional connection that makes classical music so powerful.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's not just about AI either.
Okay.
There are concerns about accessibility and representation.
Oh, right.
Like, if these new technologies are really expensive, will they only be available to a select few?
Right.
And wouldn't that further widen the gap between those who can experience classical music and those who can't?
That's a really good point.
And then what about the environmental impact of all this technology? Think about all the energy needed to power these virtual reality concerts and streaming platforms.
It's a lot.
So as classical music tries to stay relevant, how can it also be sustainable?
That's the question.
I know. These are all questions the industry is grappling with right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just about finding technical solutions. It's about having open conversations.
Right.
Listening to different perspectives.
Yeah.
And making conscious choices about how we want this art form to evolve.
So with all of these possibilities and challenges, like, where do we even go from here?
Right.
What does the Future Symphony even sound like?
I think that's the exciting part. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're at this crazy inflection point.
Yeah.
Where technology, creativity, and social awareness are all coming together.
It feels like we're on the verge of something really transformative.
I know, right.
And that brings us to you, the listener.
Yeah, what do you think about all of this?
We've thrown out a lot of ideas.
We have.
But what, resonates with you?
What excites you about it?
What worries you about it?
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, because the future of classical music isn't just about what happens on stage.
Or in the digital realm.
It's about how we as a society choose to engage with it.
So let's keep talking about it.
Yeah.
What do you think the next movement will be?
Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about, how our own experiences, our preferences, will shape the future of classical music.
Totally, because art's meant to be a conversation.
Absolutely, it's not a monologue.
Right, not a lecture. So maybe you're someone who's excited about the idea of curating your own concert through an app,
Right.
Like picking and choosing what you want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Or even influencing the performance in real time.
Totally. Or maybe you're more drawn to a smaller setting.
Right.
Like classical at the cafe kind of thing.
Exactly.
Where you can actually talk to the musicians and other people who love music.
Totally. And what about the potential for music education?
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Like, imagine a world where every student has access to amazing virtual lessons from world-renowned musicians, no matter where they live or what their economic background is.
Exactly. I mean, could that lead to a huge surge in young composers and performers?
Right. Like a whole new generation.
Exactly.
Bringing all these fresh ideas.
I know. Fresh perspectives.
It's exciting to think about. But then it also makes me wonder, if everyone can learn to play an instrument or compose.
Yeah.
Does that change how we value musical expertise?
Oh, that's interesting.
Will virtuosity become less special?
It's a good question.
Right.
Maybe instead of focusing just on technical skill, we'll see more emphasis on creativity and innovation and being able to actually connect with people.
Right, on an emotional level.
On an emotional level, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe the future rock stars of classical music won't be the ones who can play the fastest or the loudest.
Right.
But the ones who can tell the most amazing stories through their music.
Right.
No matter their technical skill.
Oh, that's interesting. And speaking of storytelling, one of the trends that stood out to me in the podcast was all the genre-bending collaborations.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I'm thinking about things like, the Gorillas, where you have this virtual band, blending hip-hop, electronica, orchestral music.
It's not purely classical, but it shows how these worlds can collide in really interesting ways. And it's not even just about mixing genres. It's about breaking down the barriers between art forms.
That's a great point.
Imagine a performance where you have an orchestra
playing
a piece inspired by like a famous painting. And then dancers are interpreting the music through movement.
Wow.
And the whole stage is transformed with projections.
That's incredible.
And lighting. It becomes this multi-sensory experience that transcends any one category.
Totally. It's like a whole new language of expression.
Right. But it also makes me wonder, like, as we push these boundaries, how do we make sure we're not just chasing, like, novelty for its own sake?
Right. How do we make sure the music still has depth?
Right. And meaning.
Yeah. And I think that's where the listener comes in.
Exactly.
Like, we have to be discerning. We have to ask ourselves, like, does this actually make the music better?
Right.
Or is this just a gimmick?
Exactly. We need to be open to new experiences.
Sure.
But also, like, critical in how we think about them.
It's like being a food critic.
Exactly.
Like, you can appreciate a chef combining unexpected ingredients, but ultimately it has to taste good.
Exactly.
Right. And that taste in music, I think it comes from a bunch of things.
Yeah. Like what?
The composer's vision, the performer's skill, and the listener's emotional response.
Right. Exactly. And as we move into this future with all these possibilities, it's really that emotional connection.
I think so.
That's going to determine the staying power of classical music.
Totally.
Will it still move us?
Yeah.
Inspire us.
Challenge us.
Challenge us, yeah.
Connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because even with all the technology, at its core, classical music is about human expression.
It is.
It's about capturing the full range of human emotions.
Yeah.
Joy, sorrow, anger, love, everything.
Everything, yeah.
And putting it into a language that transcends words.
That's beautiful.
Right.
And that language, while it might change and adapt over time, will always have the power to resonate with us on a really deep level.
Absolutely.
So whether we're listening to a symphony written hundreds of years ago or a piece generated by AI, what we're really looking for is a reflection of our own humanity.
That's so true. So as we wrap up this, like, exploration of the future of classical music, I think the big takeaway is this.
What?
The future isn't something that's happening to us.
Right.
It's something that we're creating together.
I love that.
Right.
And we all have a role to play.
Yeah.
Whether you're a composer, a performer, a listener, or someone who just, like, appreciates beautiful music.
Yeah.
Your choices, your curiosity, your passion. Yeah. It all contributes to shaping the soundscape of tomorrow.
And that's pretty amazing, right?
It is.
Like, we can actually influence the course of this art form.
I know. That's endured for centuries.
And is still evolving.
And is still evolving.
Yeah.
So let's embrace it.
Yeah.
All the possibilities.
Yeah.
Engage in the conversation and see where it takes us.
Yeah. Who knows?
I know.
What sonic wonders await.
The Future Symphony.
You know, it really makes you think that the future of classical music isn't like some far-off thing.
No, it's happening now.
Yeah, it's being shaped right now.
Right, in concert halls and
studios
and classrooms.
Online communities.
Yeah, everywhere.
And by listeners like you.
So if all of this has got you thinking, we encourage you to, like, explore a little bit.
Yeah, maybe check out one of the composers we mentioned.
Yeah, like Max Richter.
Anna Meredith.
Yeah, or look for one of those events in your city.
Yeah, like a classical at the club.
Exactly.
Or you can even
find them online.
Yeah, experience those VR concerts.
VR concerts, yeah.
And if you're feeling really adventurous, why not try composing something yourself?
That's a great idea.
There's so many, like,
I know,
free resources.
Yeah, but absence
to help you get started.
Totally.
The point is just to engage with it.
Yeah.
In a way that feels good to you.
That's meaningful, yeah.
Because ultimately,
the future of this
art form depends on people who are passionate and curious.
That's us.
Like you.
Exactly.
So keep listening.
Keep exploring.
Keep the music alive.
We hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective
on the amazing world of classical music.
Yeah, and how much it's changing.
And we're so excited to see
what
the next movement brings.
Until next time.
Happy listening, everyone.